Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary. In today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous little pouch that you see right here. Now you guys won't be working on the letters. I'll be doing the letters AJ off air because that is for a family member. But if you do want to do letters in the future on some squares, please let me know. Now these letters didn't work out too well because the rectangle or the square was just not big enough. I needed to add more stitches within the letters, yeah? But doesn't matter, you can still see that it's an AJ. It still looks like a gorgeous little J. AJ, yes. Anyway, moving right along, the colour combination for the orange today was chosen by the lovely Margaret on one of our lives, and she chose the orange. I love this orange. It is actually called Peach. The yarn is from Bendigo Woollen Mills, yeah, and you will need 16 grams of the yarn. You may need less. I used a bit more because I had a lot of threads from the white, so you could probably get away with 15 grams, yeah. 15 grams, very minimal. Get rid of your stash, get rid of it, and make a gorgeous pouch that you can use as a gift. And I've used it as a gift to give to our little family member, and the little jewellery here from Lovisa. I will pop a link to Lovisa's. I'm not getting paid by them. It's not a promotion. But I will pop their link in the description box down below of their website if you are interested in purchasing anything like that. You will at least know the sizing will fit, yeah? Also, you can use your pouch for earbuds if you like, for anything you want really. I use it as a gift so that I don't have to gift wrap anything. I make, if it's a small project, you can even do a large crochet project like this, yeah? But I did something small, and whenever it's small, I give it to her as a gift like this. She not only has a jewellery, she has her pouch as well. So there you go. She could use it to store her jewellery in when she's not wearing it, or she can use her pouch for any other thing that she likes. So there you go. All right, so this is an 8-ply DK weight or a 3-weight yarn. And I don't have the label to this one, but it's peach, yeah? It looks like this though. It'll have 8-ply and it'll be called cotton. The glacier is the grey that you see here. And it calls for a 4mm hook, which we are using today. Now you can use any colour you like. I have the grey, but today we are using the peach. 15 grams or 16 grams. Make sure you have a little button here. This button is 1.5 centimetres in width and length, you know, from there to there, top to bottom, side to side. It's 1.5 centimetres or just a little bit over 1/2 inch if you wanted to purchase your buttons, all right? It will work with 1/2 inch. It will work with just over 1/2 inch, being careful not to make it too big because the buttonhole is only suited to a smaller button, all right? You will need 4 or 5 stitch markers, something like that. You will need your hook, yes, you will need your scissors. You will definitely need that sewing needle. There is a lot of sewing, but it's only, a lot of it gets sewn on the inside, so you don't see the threads anyways. So there you go, all right? I'm not going to hold you up anymore. I'm just going to let you head off on your own and create your gorgeous little pouch. A very special thanks once again to the lovely Margaret for her colour combination in today's tutorial. Good luck all. We need to start with a slip knot. Grab the tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your finger once and twice. Give yourself a long tail for weaving in ends, yeah? Holding it here, and down here. Pass your back loop halfway over your finger, hold it there, pass the other loop all the way over, pop your hook in and give everything a tug, all right? So make sure you have a long tail for weaving in, because if it's too short, sometimes the weaving in is a little difficult, yeah? All right, so we are going to chain 17, and a chain is yarn over your hook, pull a loop through, once, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3, yarn over, 4, and so on. All right, so what I want you to do now is to just chain up to 17, and we've done 4, and off we go, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. I'll get you to catch up there. Gorgeous. All right, so what you have with your chains are these flat edges that we're actually you holding right there, or if you turn it the other way, you have the bubbled edge. This is entirely up to you, not necessary which side you can put it in. If you are new to crochet, I would pop your hook in that very first top loop. Okay, if you are experienced, just pass your little guy over, find the very first top bump, which is right there. It's a little awkward. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops, and that is a single crochet US, double UK. I'm going to do that again a little closer. So if you're new, you want to try the back bump, you turn your little chains over, and you can see the little bumps along the top. We're going to either pop it in that loop there, or pop it in your back bump right there, just the 1 loop. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, grab your stitch marker, guys. This is all experienced and new crocheters. Pop your stitch marker in. And the deal now is to make single crochets in every chain all the way across. Single US, double UK. All right, so face your work to you, grab your next back bump or your next top loop, hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to continue to do that all the way across your chains. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just pop this on fast, and I would like everyone to get to the end of this set of chains, and I'll meet you right at the end in just a moment, and off we go. Alright guys, so now I kept splitting the yarn, you may have noticed. Lucky I put it on fast, it would have taken forever to get across the row. Now if you are right about here, you would notice you still have that 1 chain left. Find your back bump in the 1 chain, like so. And what I want you to do is count your stitches. We chained 17, so if you were to count your stitches, they are the little V looking things that you see here. So your 1, your 2, your 3 and your 4, yeah? So count those stitches, you should have 16 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. If you don't have 16, see if you lost a stitch somewhere along the way, or see if you need to add another chain. You may have dropped your chain at the beginning. It can happen with the very first stitch. Now, just a quick heads up, the reason we pop our hook in the back bump instead of the main chain is so that when you look at your work this way, it looks like stitches. And when you look at it this way, it also looks like stitches. All right, so it looks the same both at the top and the base. Not necessary, it's just there for the look, really. All right. Now, all you're doing here is chaining 1, turn your work. So you turn it. You're still working on the same stitches. You're not going on the chains or anything. You're just turning your work like you're turning the page in a book. Pop your hook in that very first stitch. Don't miss it or you'll be 1 stitch short. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both those loops. That's a single crochet yet again. It's going to be a very easy pattern, guys. Way too easy, yeah? So single crochet in every stitch, and you're going in that space right there, all right? So the stitch is your front loop and your back loop together. So you're going the whole stitch and do a single crochet. Hook in the stitch, loop through, 2 loops, yarn over, 2, single. So 1, 2, and 3, and off you go doing your single crochets in every stitch all the way across. It's a lot easier now because you've gone through your chains and now you're just going through stitches. All right, I'm going to pop this on fast until we get to the end of the row. Here we are at the end of the row, and I've got a second last single crochet and a very, very last one, and you're going into the stitch with your stitch marker. With your single crochet, remove that stitch marker right there. What we want to do is chain one and just pop your stitch marker in that loop so you don't lose your thread, yeah? Because what I want you to do now is to count your stitches across. Make sure you have your 16 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Make sure you have your 16 single crochets across, because now we're going to have some instructions. If I can get it to sit down. This will straighten up. It'll curl a bit for the first few rows, but it will straighten up as we go along. And plus we're going to be crocheting our pieces together anyways. So there you go. All right, so now you've done 2 rows of single crochets. Now if you want, you can get a book, yeah, and you can mark off how many rows you do. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. All right, so what I want you to do is to head off on your own now and repeat that row for another 22 more rows, and then meet me back here and we will talk about what we're going to do next. All right, so head off and do your rows, the same row that you've been doing over and over again until you get to the end of your rows. Meet me back here and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alright guys, so I've now completed the amount of rows that I need, and I completed 22 rows. Now if I was to measure mine now, roughly around 4 inches or 10 centimetres worth. Alright, it's entirely up to you. You can make yours smaller or bigger. And what you need to do is to pop your little item that you're crocheting for, whether it's something like this, whether it's the little earbuds that we were talking about earlier. Make sure you've got like enough space to crochet along the sides, along the base, and up the top you need quite a bit of space. Like let's say roughly around half an inch or 1.5 centimetres roughly, because we're going to pop a button right there. And then we're going to make another piece and pop a buttonhole there. All right. So your job now is to actually make another piece. But what I want you to do with your other piece, make your rows 3 rows less than you did here. So I did 22 rows from when I said to head off on your own, plus we had 2 rows before. So altogether mine is 24 rows. So for my front, I need to make only 21 rows, because when we come back, we're going to do the last 3 rows, including a buttonhole. All right, so what I want you to do right now is to make one more rectangle. I was going to say square. It's not a square, it's a rectangle. Exactly the same as what you've made here. Make 3 rows less. So in my case, I'm only going to do 21 rows altogether, okay? Not 24 rows, but 21. Whatever you did, make 3 rows less. Meet me back here then, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. However, yours truly is going to put the initials of the young girl that we are creating for, and her initials are AJ. So I'll be popping the letters AJ within the piece. So I'll be crocheting the AJ and changing the colors in between. Now in the future, if you want to learn how to do letters with inside a rectangle like this or a square or something like that, please let me know and we can work on something using the letters of the alphabet. And to be fair, this year I've contemplating doing little squares like this and doing the whole alphabet using the carrying up as you go join kind of thing. All right, so we're not going to talk about that now. I'm just going to let you know that when you see my next rectangle, you will see the letters AJ within that rectangle. All right, so that's all I wanted to say about that. For you, however, just head off on your own, do one more rectangle just like this, and I'll meet you back here once you're done, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so here we are again. Now I forgot to mention earlier to cut your thread and finish off your piece, but we're going to do that now with this one anyways. So what I meant before about making letters on mine, I made ours to look like AJ. Now the piece was too small to make the letters look really good. That's not exactly a J, it looks more like a 3, doesn't it? But that's how it's going to go. It's a little tight because my weaving in the ends is quite tight. But this piece here, we've done our rows 3 rows short. So we need to add the last 3 rows, yeah? And the reason we've done them shorter is because we are now going to make a buttonhole right here where you will be attaching your button right there. Your button will be attached on that piece eventually, and then you'll have your little buttonhole on this one. So don't worry about where the button's going to go yet. Let's start by making our buttonhole. Okay, so what we want to do, this is the right side of your work. How you can tell, the first thread you had should be in your left hand, just drop it there. That's the right side of your work. Now it doesn't matter because both sides kind of look very similar anyway, but for me my A and J is this way, so I have to work this way. What you want to do, and let's get it closer, if you remember correctly, we had 16 stitches across. All you need to do now is count to 8. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on the 8th stitch, just pop a stitch marker, piece of thread, whatever you have. Doesn't have to be, we don't have to use stitch markers, guys. You can use safety pins, paper clips, a piece of thread, anything that you have in stock, even a hairpin can go through there and just sit there, yeah? Anything you have in stock. Now that you've got your stitch marker in, grab your hook. You're going to start your third last row, all right? So let's get going. So flip your work like normal. Make sure you've chained your one, yeah? Flip your work like normal, single crochet in the very first stitch. Now this might be too close. Now let's bring that out, that's better. Pop your stitch marker in like normal. This never changes, it's always the same. And single in every stitch until you get to your stitch marker, and off you go. One stitch there with a stitch marker. All I'm going to do is remove that stitch marker now. Yeah? Chain 1. Skip the stitch that had your stitch marker in, go into the very next one, single crochet. If you want to, and I think it's a good idea, just to pop your stitch marker in the space, just to remind you where your buttonhole is, because this is a small space for a smaller button, yeah? So that's single crochet there, and then single crochet all the way across. In with the stitch like normal, that never changes. Chain 1, remove the guy, turn your work around, single in the same stitch you are in like normal. Nothing's changed, just that buttonhole section. And it's only changed for this next row that we're doing, and then after that we're back to normal again. So single in every stitch all the way until we get to our buttonhole. So what you're going to do is pop your single crochet in the space where that stitch marker is. So do a normal single crochet, remove that stitch marker, and go into the very next stitch. All right, you're in the space, but now you're just going into the very next stitch. Alrighty guys, I think I've pulled thread here. I'm going to remove that. I split the yarn, that's all. And single crochet in that stitch. Pull up a loop, just pop your stitch marker in that little loop there for a minute. All right, and check your buttonhole. Grab your little button. There's the little hole right there. You want to make sure that your button fits through that hole. It might be a little tight, but that's okay. Better tight than loose. If it's too loose, you need to find a way to, if you've got a really, really small button, to make sure that that doesn't fall out when you're putting it on. So it's okay for it to be fairly tight. Now you don't need to worry about that buttonhole until we finish this square, and we are on our final row of our square. I'm sorry, this is a rectangle, Mary. Come on, get with it. It's not a square, it's a rectangle. All right, so what you're going to do, I've got about 4 different stitch markers on the table here, so I'm mix and matching them. Oh, as you do. All right, so I'm going to pop this on fast, single crochet until you get to the end of the row. Your buttonhole should not affect you now that it's been crocheted over, and off we go. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of our row. Got my last stitch right there. Pull that through, pull up a loop, and just pop your stitch marker in there. Remove that stitch marker. Yeah. Alrighty guys, so what you have now is that. Alright, that's the right side of your front where your buttonhole is, and that's the right side of your back. What you want to do is flip your back that way. So the wrong side of your work is showing, or the tail that you started with is in your right hand. Yeah? So that is the wrong side. And then what you want to do is you want to grab your other piece, pop it on top like that, keeping your right side tail there. So in other words, your tails should be opposite each other. The base tails should be right opposite each other. Yeah, this is what we're going to do to find our button hole, to be able to place our button. Yeah, so right up here, right there, you're going to find your buttonhole. You could do what I did in past tutorials, pop your stitch marker on the 8th stitch, but it doesn't always work because when you used your 8th stitch, you chained and then you skipped over. Yeah, so it doesn't always work. It's just easier to literally do this. Grab any sewing needle or anything that's, you can just pop through the hole of that buttonhole, straight into the piece on the other side, remove your buttonhole, yeah? And just grab a needle and thread, and the thread doesn't have to be a lot, just, 1, 2, that kind of thing. Even that's too much, way too much. And what you want to do is place your sewing needle in the same stitch where your other needle is, remove it, and that is where your button is going to be. All right, so pull the thread through, and not all the way through because we haven't knotted, just leave a piece there, and pop your needle anywhere you like as close to it, and pull it through like so, and that's where you are. Make sure when you come back that you're going back in the same direction. You've got to remember this is actually quite dark to see because it's the same colour all the way through. So you can see, let's do a close-up. The first tail we put in was right there. So anywhere in that vicinity is the way to do it. You go back in, without making a mess here, through there, making sure you leave that tail. Now you won't need to worry about it. It won't come undone once you've put it through 3 times. Now what you're going to do is grab your button. Now you may have a 2-hole button or a 4-hole button, and you're just going to pop it through one of the holes, any one, because they're all the same, yeah? And then you're going to pop it through the hole on the front of the button, yeah? So you've gone through the top, get rid of that thread, and then you've gone through the base of the button, and now you're going through the top. Because now you're going to attach your button right in here, anywhere you want, as long as it's in the vicinity of where we first threaded. All right, so your button is right there, yeah? Now what you want to do, hold your button tight. You want to bring your needle through like that, and go down. Try not to move your button, yeah? So you want to keep it nice and straight. Now, if you've only got a 2-hole button, easier for you. But for those of us who have 4 holes, you want to fill up all 4 holes. Don't want to go on that one there because you just did it. The base one. There we go. Like that. You want to go like that. And now you want to fill up, go across the 3rd side actually, like that. See, now you've filled up your gaps. So see if you can go onto one of the other sides right here. I'm going to try and find a side. I'm using my finger at the back as a guide, but it's not a very good guide. It's not a very... Here we go. We're in. All right, so go into one of the other holes, and now you've got 1 line left to do. Pop it through that line. That is pretty much it. All right, I wouldn't do any more than that, yeah? But make sure that whatever you've done, that it's fairly tight, all right? So what you want to do here is a knot, 1, a knot, 2. And then you're going to take this needle and you're not going to weave it on this side. You're going to grab your needle and pop it through here, all right? So grab your needle anywhere you want, but just pop it through the inside close to the button, but not in the button. And I'll explain that to you in a minute. Once you pull it through, because this is the outside of your work, the back of your piece. You don't want threads showing there. This will be on the inside of your little pouch, all right? So what you want to do, quick and easy, this is the old-fashioned way of doing buttons. You sew, and we're talking old-fashioned. They don't do it like this much anymore. That's because they've all got machines now. You just go through some stitches under the button or near the button and weave your thread through. Don't overdo it because you're going to weave the other thread through as well. All right, so find another section there to weave it through. And it won't come undone, trust me. I've done this many times before in the past. Now, if you didn't know this, I used to do a lot of dressmaking in the old days when I was in my early 20s, which was last month. Do you like that, last month? Sew through any stitches you can find. That's so tight, I'm going to make that my last sew through. Okay, and I made all my dresses in the early 90s for work, and I worked in an office, and in the old days you had to dress really nice in the office. Cut your thread like that. That thread is done. Now what you want to do is grab your needle and rethread the other thread. Like so. And do exactly the same. Find a spot somewhere at the back, not too far. This is a thread, I didn't cut it close enough. If you give it a tug, it'll kind of hide in there anyway, the thread. There it goes. It's gone, good. So what you want to do is find a spot. I'm going to find the spot in a different area, right there. As long as it's under your button and it can't be seen, yeah? So try and cut a little closer, being careful not to cut your work. You've got to hold that thread, otherwise it won't work, Mary. See, that one's a lot closer. And it's not noticeable because the button is there. So what you now have initially is that. So if you were to grab your other piece, your piece with the letters, if you have them, or in my case, I have them, you don't. Okay, and just try it. You should have tried it before, which we did anyway. But I would try it again, and mine will be fairly tight, and probably so will yours, and that's okay. That's what you want. All right, so there it is right there. Yeah. Now what you're going to do is crochet these 2 pieces together. Now it's entirely up to you if you want to use the white or the cream that I've used here to do it, or if you just want to use the orange. Normally I would have used the cream, but I think in this case I'm going to use the orange because I want these the letters to be highlighted. And if there's cream around it, it's not going to be highlighted. So where's the one with the thread? Here it is. All right, so now leaving your button facing you, yeah, you grab your original and you're putting The front should be in your left hand right there. Or if you want to think about it, that's the base of your rectangles, your pieces. One should be on one side and one should be on the other, and that is your right side of your work. Not your wrong side, your right side. And you should still have a thread attached right here. We're going to cut that in a minute, all right? But make sure you leave your pieces like this. I'm just going to grab this stitch marker on this side. Put it through it again, right there. I've split the yarn there. I'm not worried because I can fix that later. And just put it through the other side for now, yeah? Grab a stitch marker at the base of that one, where the base thread is right there, like so. Grab another stitch marker and put it at the base here. And what you have is your 1, 2, 3 attached, and these 2 are not attached. Because what you're going to do here is just cast off this thread here. If you've made your chain 1, then all you have to do is pull that loop through. It's good if I cut it first, Mary. Hello. Just pull that, cut your work, pull the thread through. There's a stitch marker out there. And that's where you should be. All right? So the right side of your work should be facing this way. The right side of your work should be facing that way, no matter which way you look at it. Now, you can actually grab that stitch marker and put it through both sides here. But that's where we ended our work up the top there. So what I want you to do is go over to the opposite side, because we're going to start from here, work around this way and stop right there. All right? So pop your hook in that first stitch. Actually, it would have benefited to keep the thread of the opposite side, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're still going to weave in all these ends. So what you're doing is you're popping your hook through the first stitch on one side, the first stitch on the other side, like so. Grabbing your cream or your orange, whichever color you want to use. Pop that little tail at the back so it's out of your way. Grab your new thread. We're going to weave in all these ends, don't worry about it. Pull that thread through like so, and where's your tail? Right here. Pass it forward like so. We're passing it forward because we're going to lock it into place because we haven't knotted. So we're going to chain 1 in the same stitch. We're going to pop our hook back in and do a single crochet over that thread. Like so. Now, I'm sorry if you can hear some noise in the background. That's builders working next door. If you can't, that's great, but you may hear it. I think you can. I can. Anyway, it doesn't mean anything. You might not be able to, but there you go. Now, do you remember how many rows you did? Yeah? It doesn't matter too much, but I believe we did 24 rows from memory. So what you initially should have is 24 stitches all the way through. All right? So what you need to do, I'm going to pass the tail at the back. Normally I would crochet over it, but it might be a little confusing. You just need to go into every row. There's your next row there, and there's your next. Or look for the spaces. Pop your hook in, single crochet. Again, next row. Pop your hook in, opposite, single crochet. All right, so you're going to do that all the way until you get down to your last stitch there. Now my front is a little bit tighter than the back because I've worked on these threads here. So I've got to be careful not to miss any spaces. And also be careful not to miss any spaces. And that's all you're doing, single crochet into every space or every row on both sides. Alrighty guys, so I'm going to remove the stitch marker. I have 2 stitches left in the front and 2 stitches left at the back, or 2 rows if you will. Now you probably would have seen me struggle there. I'm just going to have a look at the back of it. I kept splitting the stitch around there somewhere. I just wanted to check the back. In fact, it might pay to just open it up a little bit and have a look inside. Make sure I didn't pull thread when I was splitting my stitches. Okay, it looks like it's all good. It doesn't matter anyway because that's on the inside, but if you pulled thread on the inside, more likely it'll show on the back, and you don't want that, yeah? Anyway, my problem, moving right along, here we go. Single crochet in your second last row on one side, second last row on the other. However, when you do your very last row or your very last stitch, pop your hook in the first stitch on this side and the first stitch on that side. If you've got a tail and if you've weaved it in, great, but if you've got a tail, just pop it at the back and do a single crochet there, 1, single 2, single 3, all in the same stitch. Now remember when I told you at the beginning where we crocheted into the back bump? For those of you who did that, luckily enough, you will be able to see your stitches now because we did the back bumps. Now if you didn't do the back bumps, just make sure you pop your single crochets in every loop of that stitch that's there, or the 2 loops, whatever you can see. But in our case, we can see the first stitch there. It's just made it easier. And we can see the first stitch right there. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. The first stitch right there. All right, just be careful not to skip any stitches when you do this part. You don't need your stitch marker in that corner anymore, by the way. So just continue with that all the way across. I might do this off air because these are a little tight and I don't want you to waste time looking at me struggle with each stitch. Maybe yours are as tight as mine, I don't know, but there you go. All right, so that's pretty much all you need to do. Make sure you're going through one side and the other side. Get to this first corner, meet me there, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. All right, head off on your own, finish that section, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, so here I am at the end of the row. We're actually upside down now, which is okay. It's normal because we need to get around the corner. Now I have, how many do I have left? 1 stitch left. Now be careful, we have threads here, but don't worry too much about it. You go into your last stitch on one side, into your last stitch on the other. Grab your tail, make sure it's at the back if you've got a tail, yeah? And just pull your loop through like normal, completing your single crochet 1, single crochet 2, because this is a corner, and single crochet 3. And now what you're going to do is just go all the way up to this side now, all right? So your job is to find your very next row, which is right there. It's a bit tight here for me. Make sure you're not missing any rows when you do this part, or you will have a hole in your little pouch, or it will pull in one section and not be right in the next. All right, so that's the last bit right there. All right, I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me fight every space. I would like for you to finish off this section from here to here. Meet me there once you're done and get ready to close off your pouch. Alrighty guys, so here we are right here at the end. Now this section here can be a tad tricky because if you remember the first one, our stitch was really tight together and it looks like you've only got one row, but you actually have this little space here. I would fill up the little space before you get to the corner, little space on the opposite side if you have that. Right, mine was really loose on the sides. I don't know what I did there, but anyway, because I'm usually tight. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. All right, so we have one more stitch, which is the last stitch. Pop it in there and pop it in the opposite side if you can find it right there. Just grab any tails you have and pass them at the back for a moment. And all you're doing is putting one single crochet only in that stitch. Then you're going to pull up your loop and cut your thread. because this is the top bit. If you did this across here, you wouldn't be able to open. There'd be no pouch. It'd just be a closed square, which would be good as a pin cushion. If you put a whole lot of stuffing in there and crocheted along the top, you would have a pin cushion. So you could turn this into a little pin cushion if you like. Now what you have is, let's get rid of the stitch marker here, is all of these threads. So many. And in actual fact, you can sit in front of the television and do this bit. Yeah. And I'm going to grab myself a sewing needle and give me one moment. Now, first, let's try these ones at the back. You don't want any threads seen. So what you want to do with this one right here is thread it firstly. Thread it. There we go. You want to pop your fingers in the pouch like so. See that tail? Find a little hole. Any hole anywhere. Pop it through the inside of the pouch. Turn the pouch inside out. Like that. Just for now. And weave this one inside. Okay, this way no one's going to see it, and you just need to find some thread somewhere and just weave it on the inside. All right, like so. Now if you're using a white, you need to check that it's not going through on your orange, yeah? Otherwise you'll be able to see it. White, cream, whichever I think this is actually a white, not a cream. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just weave it in a few times, and you don't have to do it a lot because it's on the inside. It's not going to come through. So once, twice, 3 times, maybe weave it a bit further rather than just a few stitches that I did, but I'm not worried. Turn it through, have a look and make sure it looks good on this side, and it does. Can't do much about it now because you weaved it in anyway. So back in the right side again, find another tail and do the same. All right, the base tail. And with these ones here, up the top, you want to do the same. Believe it or not, this is the top part where your button is, right there. Let's just try one, and then you're going to do the rest on your own. So you don't have to sit here and watch me do it. So you've got your thread here. You can pop him anywhere you like. I would specifically go into or split a yarn at the back. And try not to pin myself. And go inside your pouch and pull it through. Oh, that was a bit tight, and it's invisible, yeah? And then you weave it on the inside real quickly. I'm going to pop this on fast, just find some threads and off you go. All right, and then you cut this guy right here. Remember, it's on the inside that you're weaving your tails in, not the outside, so it can't be noticed from the front or the back. Now we're going to leave that one, which is the one we had our tail sticking up. It's there, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one where we finished our work. Grab your needle. That's the very last thread we used, put it that way. Sorry, just went quiet there, guys. Sorry about that. You're here, yeah? So all you want to do is pass it in through the back. Now, what I usually do with this last tail, I go into the back of the stitch. There's like a little base section of that stitch, but it's really hard to see here. So I think what I'm going to do is just go into the back of any stitch at the back of our pouch, yeah? And pull it down that way. And then pass it down through the piece on the inside and weave it in exactly the same way you did the other one. All right, and I'm just going to do that real quickly. I'm going to pop it on fast again, and off we go. Alrighty guys, now you may have noticed there I had to look at it because I thought I went through the front and I didn't, so there you go. Alright, and that's done. Alright, so what I would like for you to do now is to weave in all these ends. Meet me back here and then we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, so here we are at the end of all our ends. Make sure they're all sewn in and then grab your little gift. Now this is some bracelets from Lovisa, dress bracelets for the lovely young girl. And I'm going to pop her gift in there like so. If you want to put other things in there, you can. There's plenty of room. Yeah. Button it up. So there you go, guys. I want to make a very special thank you to the lovely Margaret for her colour combination during Live Antics. If you would like to be a part of Live Antics, don't forget to join us on Saturday mornings lives at 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. Marry that up with your country. We also have lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons. Again, Melbourne, Australia time. Marry that up with your country as well. But Saturday mornings is when we do our Live Antics, and subscribers on our live, if they wanted to, gets to choose the colour combination of the very next tutorial, and Margaret chose our orange. Do note that I will not have a live on Saturday the 25th of January. I will be on leave, but I will be back pretty much the Wednesday after. So there you go, guys. There's our gorgeous pouch. Once again, a very special thank you to Margaret. My name is Mary, and this is Wow Crochet Designs. Ciao for now.